This time on Ask Rad Rat, we're talking about a few of your questions, including which skate brand is the most prestigious. Let's get into it. Before today's video, I just wanted to show you this cool skateboard I bought. It's called Rad Rat, 2Ds, 2Ts. I've had a few people send me screenshots of seeing this online, or someone sent me a picture of where it was at a skate shop, the Rad Rat board, and I bought this on eBay a while ago, which is pretty cool. This rat is so rad, he's actually caught a mouse. It looks like he's got a mouse trap on his mouth. The way it's colored, it's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, this is a very cheap board. I think the wheels are plastic. Yeah, they are plastic, but this was not a high-end board. The base plates are also plastic. But, I mean, come on, I can't not have the Rad Rat board, and since I've got it, I thought I would just show it to you. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let's get to the video now. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video. Today I'm answering your questions that you submitted through the website, radratvideo.com. Got a handful of them today. The first one is from Devin, who asks, why is it easier to spin a backside big spin, but it's harder to control? And why is it harder to spin a frontside big spin, but easier to control? For me, I definitely find that to be the case, and it's all about being able to stand upright. Like, it's a really weird thing for me. If you can just throw a backside trick and not think about it, like, that's not where I'm at with them. For me, to be able to do a backside trick and actually land on it and not land and slip out, I have to really think about keeping my back straight. I have to think about, like, not looking underneath my armpit as I pop the trick, because then I push the board away and I'll land on the nose and I'll shoot it out. I have to keep my back up, make sure I'm looking down and not bending down. And that's the only way that I can keep myself jumping straight up and not jumping away from the board slightly as I do it. Of course, it's easier to spin because, you know, the way your knee is. If your knees were backwards, then you could push it forward easily. But it's all about seeing, like, I think doing it blind, the way you want to look at the board, makes it easier to crouch over and then you lose it. So I have a trick tip for backside big spins. You can check that out. That might help you. But once you get used to doing that, the flow of it, then the trick is a lot easier in both ways. So the next trick is from Reiki, who says, what are your thoughts on wall riding? I used to watch those skate videos and Tony Hawk games, and I don't remember seeing anyone do it, whereas now it seems to be fairly popular from what I'm seeing. Did at some point become a cool thing to do, or am I just misinformed? Wall rides were never all that common of a trick, but I think that they exploded more. So wall rides came about in the 80s. It was either, I think it was Nodis did a wall ride, and that got to be this really big deal. Like, no one knew how he got up on the wall, and that became a cool thing. And so people were putting launch ramps up to walls and doing wall rides and stuff, and that became a huge trick in the 80s for a while. Died out for a time, and you would see one every now and then. But I think it became popular again once tech started to explode, because it wasn't just a wall ride. You'd see a pro doing like a kickflip into a wall ride or something like that. And then it became cool, so people were trying to learn how to do that. They would do more different variations, you know, backside or frontside, kickflip in. You see like a Casper wall ride, it'd be more of a stall than a ride, but I see all kinds of different cool variations of wall-based tricks now. So at one point when it was just riding, I think it got a little bit old. Kind of like nose grinds got old after a while. People started doing crooked grinds. Crooked grinds start to get old. Now it's feebles, you know, something like that, where it's just like you see the same trick a lot, it becomes a little bit boring. But now with all the different variations, it's beginning to be a little bit more popular. That's interesting because I never really noticed that. You know, like I watch so many skate videos that I've seen wall rides consistently, but I never really noticed that they started to be a bigger thing again. But I do think you're right about that. Okay, next question. This is actually from Patreon. This one is from Liam. And he said, I wanted to ask your opinions on non-core brands such as Nike taking over the shoe industry. Is it whack to buy Nike? Is it better for skateboarding to support skater-owned companies? I have talked about this before, but I think my perspective on it has changed a little bit. So, you know, in an ideal world, we would all buy brands that were run by skateboarders, and they would all treat their riders well, and everyone would make money, and it would be great. But if you saw my last video in this series on Ask Rad Rat, I talk about how pros get paid, or that might have been 2 ago. Anyway, it's right here. one way or another, but how pros get paid. And sometimes they don't get paid very much. And so you'd see like brands like Nike come in and actually put some big bucks into skateboarding. And so like, yeah, maybe if you buy a shoe, the owner of Nike isn't a skater and who cares, but you're also helping pay that skater, and they're making a lot more on Nike than they would be on a core brand. So in a way, like, you're helping skaters. The individual pros are probably doing better over at Nike than they would be somewhere else. So it's kind of complicated. You know, who's more important to you? I don't want the core brands to die out because everyone's riding, you know, big corporate brands. But at the same time, like, I can't fault people who decide to skate for them and get a better paycheck. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I generally just buy whatever I get the best deal on. I've skated Nike SBs before and I liked them, but like, I don't exclusively try to skate anything in particular. There is money going to a skateboarder, whether it's the owner and the skater, or if it's just the skater. I don't know, man. That's your call if you want to support that or not. I don't think it's really that bad, though. The last question is from Sean, and he asks, which is the most prestigious skate brand still around? This is based off of old and current team videos, contest winnings. So I was thinking about historically. So if in the 80s, if you were on Powell Peralta, you were a big deal, right? You had Tony Hawk, you had Rodney Mullen, you know, all the names were on Powell Peralta. Then eventually that faded out, World Industries came around, whatever. But, and then at some point, when was this? Maybe like 2002 or so, like, Flip would have been a big deal because there was the sorry, really sorry, extremely sorry. Those videos were really huge. If you were in that video, you were on Flip, you were a big deal. Maybe some shoe companies like maybe probably DC around 2004 or so. They had a big video and DC was making tons of money and they were really popular. If you were on DC, that would draw some eyes. Right now, it was a little bit harder to tell. And I was going through skate shop sites and just looking at all the brand names and figuring out what would be the most, what would draw the most attention. And there's stuff that I would look at more, like if it was a brand that's run by Rodney Mullen, like if it was Almost or something like that, I would pay more attention personally. I wouldn't say it's got the most prestige, but I would be more interested in like, how did that guy get on the team? Like what kind of style is he bringing, or something like that. Or there's, other brands that promote more creative and interesting type of tricks. If I found out somebody had got sponsored by that brand, I would be interested. But as far as just overall prestige, I would probably have to say Nike, to be honest with you, which is why I grouped it with the last question. Because, they've got the money, they got the paychecks. If they're going to pick out whoever they want, and they picked this new guy you haven't heard of, you're probably going to want to know why. You're going to want to know what's up with that guy. And to be fair, the Nike team is very big, and I don't know all the people on it. But still, if you were to see an announcement somewhere, like somebody on Instagram or whatever, and they post like now sponsored by Nike, that would seem like a really big deal. So not necessarily the biggest deal for me, but overall, I think that's probably who it is right now. So if I'm wrong, let me know that in the comments. It can't be a small new brand that's getting started. It's got to be something that's established, big, and there just really isn't much like that right now. So Nike was the best I came up with. If you have any more questions for me in a future video, go to radratvideo.com and submit it with the form on there. You can also submit them through Patreon if you choose to back me on there. If not, just stay subscribed for the next video. Tap my logo on screen right there to make sure you don't miss the next one. And check out some more videos that YouTube has recommended for you right here. Thank you for watching.